Hey viewers, this is so exciting. 99% of witnesses who see UAP UFOs don't shoot photos or video. Vast amounts of the MUFON reports into credible UAP sightings have no supporting evidence and tend to be totally ignored by most TV stations because there's no pictures. If only there was a way to visualize the unfilmed. Well, there is today. It's called AI. Watch this AI-generated video clip of an encounter in a forest.
We first saw the craft moving through the woods. It seemed to hover silently in the trees. But what happened next was amazing. It started dropping a plasma beam.
Now, full disclosure, that wasn't actually a real UFO encounter. It was a way to show you what could be done potentially. And look at this. This is a clip from a new AI video generating software called SORA. Hyperreal, moving with physics, and actually very cinematic. You can even specify the type of film stock and camera it was shot on to make it look amazing. But of course it does need flagging generated by AI. So today I've reached out to Dean Arnett. Dean is one of the TV broadcast world's leading training people. He works with TV companies all over the world, expanding what they can really do. And today in 2024, Dean Arnett is very excited at the possibilities of how AI can be incorporated into video production. I needed to know more about AI in filmmaking, and very specifically, a way of visualizing witness reports. If only we could see what they witnessed. The AI visualization of UAP is potentially enormous. Just imagine how we can turn these credible witness reports into something that you and I can actually watch. So as my introduction into the world of AI, I interviewed Dean Arnett. What he said is fascinating.
So, Dean, I've played with image generation, and I found that it's overly simple. You know, if I type in UFO in the woods, it's a 50s flying saucer, and I want to modify how it looks, and the wood's wrong, and it's not at night. So how do you actually fine tweak the image that you get out of an AI image generation?
Well, all these AI tools that are out there, I always try to explain them. They're a bit like a seesaw. You know, if it's easy to use, then you don't have much flexibility. If you want control over the image you're after at the end, right, then it's not so easy to use. So the more complicated ones have more flexibility and control. So first of all, the four I've mentioned are the ones you want to be thinking about using. The others don't really give you, they're more fun applications than serious applications. Secondly, I'd say Night Cafe and Firefly have the least control out of those four. The sweet spot is a piece of software called Midjourney. Now, with Midjourney, when I type in a prompt, the words at the beginning of the prompt are the words that have the most weight, have the most significance. Right. You don't need to worry about grammar. Certainly with Midjourney, you don't need to worry about grammar, but you need to be very precise in what you want. In fact, in some cases, you know, people actually put the camera that they would like Midjourney to imagine that it was shot on, and it will create the same kind of color dynamics of that particular sensor and camera. I always put hyper-realistic photo at the beginning of my prompt to make it hyper-realistic. And what will happen is it will create 4 images, and it'll go, oh, I've had a go, Simon, here's 4. Which of those do you like? Probably in that voice. And you go, well, this one, I like this one, but it's not quite right. So can you do have another go at this one? And what it'll do is it'll put the prompt up again, and you can then change the prompt and go, well, no, I don't want this. Can you add this? Can you do that? This is known as, rather grandly, is known as prompt engineering.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I had just a quick funny story, being a complete newbie to this. I did a film about a mythical monster that lives in Scotland. And one of the people in the myth, it has a nest. It lives underwater in its home. So I typed into an AI, none of the ones you mentioned, a cheap one. I typed in monster at home underwater. It was a monster in the living room with water on the floor. I went, yes, that's brilliant. I wanted a weird thing under the ocean. It took me too literally. I found it very amusing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about AI is that,
Yeah.
it is getting better all the time, and AI
Right.
image generation has come along a long way so
Ah.
quickly. I think if you go online, you can find a ring that you can put on your finger with a prosthetic extra finger, so that if you want to suggest, well, that's not a real picture, you can go, look,
The
I've got six
six-fingered
fingers.
person. Yeah.
Because originally that's what AI did. It would create people with 6, 7 fingers and do things like that. It doesn't do that anymore. It's so much better. Now, if you were to ask me about video,
I do. I do. You could, so yeah, so I can imagine you could make a quite good photorealistic based on your prompt's image. But Dean, can you make it move?
it's funny you should say that. So, uh, we're what, 18 months, 2 years into AI image generation. I always say in my classes that we are at day one, hour one of AI video generation.
Wow.
So it's got real limitations.
Right.
But it is moving just as fast as AI image generation. Now, you mentioned a second ago, Simon, about a UFO in a forest. Now,
Yeah.
before, when we first had a chat about this, you mentioned that UFO in the forest. So I thought, I'll have a go at generating a UFO in a forest for Simon. A UFO landing in a forest at night amongst the trees. All very Rendlesham Forest, if I'm not much mistaken from one of your previous
Spot
videos that I
on.
watched. Okay, so
I mean,
I do watch.
it's classic because you can't go out and buy the footage. It would be very hard with drones or CGI to create it. So I'd be fascinated to see what you've come up with.
Well, it looks like that.
Okay,
That's what
right,
it looks like. So
right.
this is a 4-second clip. You'll see it's looped,
Ooh,
it keeps going back, and nothing much is happening. Now, this is a typical example of AI. I've put in there a
right,
prompt saying UFO landing in amongst a forest at night. And I can't
right,
remember whether I put lands or descends in the first attempt, and it hasn't
right,
been able to work that out. And this is the problem with AI at the moment, is that the
right.
way it's creating the animation is not flawed, but it's restrictive. So I then had to go with a slightly different prompt, same piece of software, and you can see now
Ooh,
the camera is tracking forwards through the
ooh,
trees,
yeah,
and you
yeah.
can see a little bit of lights flickering on the UFO, or what is it you call it? A UAD?
An unidentified aerial phenomenon, but that
Oh,
one's a bit like
UAP.
UAP. That's a bit like a flying saucer, but that's fine. That's good.
Yeah, okay. So you can see there's a bit of movement on this. Now
And
these two,
parallax, yeah.
yeah. Now these two were created with a piece of software called Runway, which, by the way, is my favorite AI tool out there.
Okay,
Now,
great.
I would recommend, Simon, you go and play with Runway. You'll find it at
Runway.
runway.ml. And Runway has a suite of AI tools, including image generation, and it's
Ooh,
not too bad. It's not up there with Midjourney, but it's not too bad. It also has
right.
a video generator built in, a video to video generator, an image to image generator,
Um,
and a sound generator as well, which is the next big thing, actually. AI music generators have been around for a while, but every now and then an AI tool comes along and you go, oh my goodness, that's such a
yeah,
great thing. So now, and this was a
yeah.
lifesaver for me, when I'm making documentaries, I mean, I spend days trying to find the right music, but I also spend a lot of time and a lot of money trying to get the right sound effects for the sound mix.
Right.
And now you just get AI text to sound effects generators. I mean, wow, how
Whoa.
amazing is that? So runway.ml, go there and check that out.
Oh,
Now,
what a great tip for creators. And and this is not a massive studio budget. budget, this is something you can do on your laptop.
Well, look, runway.ml, you can go in there and play with that for free. And I think it allows you up to 3 projects. The thing is, if you want to carry on playing, you just delete a project. So you never have more than 3 projects and you can carry on using it for free. If you start getting, decent results and you have to export it, then I think you've probably got to pay about $9 a month, $9 or $10 a month. So,
but you and I are old enough to know that there would be a complete graphics and CGI department. You would hire Industrial Light and Magic or something like that. And as you say, Dean, you would go and buy Hollywood Edge sound effects and hire a composer. Oh, hang on a minute. I can do it on my laptop. Oh, I mean, apart from possibly putting people out of business, it's a great tool for filmmakers, especially low-budget filmmakers.
Do you know what? I get asked that all the time. Is it going to put people out of business? I think certainly in the immediate future, people, someone came up to me and said, my husband works in special effects. Is he going to be out of work within a year? And I said, no, he's not. He's just going to have to learn different tools. We won't be using the same tools. We'll be using AI-powered tools. So here's a case in point, Simon, coming back to your UFO. Here's another attempt I made at it.
Ooh.
Now, this is using a different piece of software. This is using a piece of software called Decohere. Now, this is getting closer. Look, I've got your red lights that you mentioned. It's not actually descending, and everything's a little bit blurred. And I suspect if you saw a UFO in a forest, maybe it would all be a bit blurred and a bit weird. But it's still not descending or landing. Now, if I go to another piece of software called Pika Labs, this is what Pika Labs does. Now it's flashing, and now we've got red plasma coming out of it. The point is, none of them are descending. None of them are coming down. So what we have to do, and I've got another one for you as well. I forgot I did a few for you. Here's another one. This one's actually
that one's good.
Through the trees. Look, we're tracking through the trees with it. The point is, if you want to create the shot that you're after, I think you would use a combination of tools. You might use image generation. You might use some compositing tools. Probably, by the way, compositing tools, the kind of which you'd find in Runway. Now, I'll give you a perfect example of what I mean. So often you go on a shoot and someone with you says, why don't we do the interview? We're on the top floor of a skyscraper. Let's do an interview against the window. So you've got all the cityscape behind. And you kind of sigh because you know it won't work because it's too bright outside. You'd have to put too much light on the interviewee. You're not going to get the shot. But you can now. Because all you do is you film your interviewee in front of the window all burnt out. You lock the camera off, move the interviewee out the way, expose for the background. Now, I haven't used a green screen. We throw the original interview into Runway, click a couple of buttons. Seconds later, it's cut out your interview perfectly, pixel perfect. And then you composite your background in the background. So it's using a combination of tools that we would probably create your UFO landing. So we'd create it in one, we'd composite it with a different AI tool through the trees, and we would create the effect we want.
And using traditional video editing techniques of compositing.
Potentially, yes. I mean, and this is the point. This is the point. We are at day one, hour one of video generation. So there are issues. It doesn't really understand how the human body walks. It doesn't understand the movement of real things. It basically is creating, and there are a few things it understands. It's very good at C. So here is a prompt. I asked it to create a submarine surfacing amongst the sea. Now, look, the picture quality is great. The submarine looks great. The sea looks great, but it's not surfacing. Because it doesn't understand the movement of that.
It doesn't understand that, right?
Yeah, I asked it to create, this is with 2 different pieces of software, an underground train coming into the station. And it's done that, but the train kind of morphs. And if you look to the left there, you can see the passengers kind of arrive at the same time as the train does. And another piece of software doing the same thing, you can see again, it kind of distorts as it comes into the station.
It's just pulling the
Yeah.
train. Yeah.
Ask it what would it look like if a herd of elephants run through the middle of London, and you'll get this. Now look to the right-hand side. There's a businessman in a suit who actually morphs into a baby elephant. Look.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
you know,
Oh
so
yeah,
there
that's
it
great.
can't really understand movement, but then occasionally it does
Ooh,
do some stunning results. I mean, this girl was a still. That was created from a still image, and her hair's blowing and she's looking around. I mean, she's looking around in a slightly creepy way, but we'll forgive her that. And what I wanted was to create some imagery of robots operating a camera. And look,
yeah.
I mean, the movement is small, but it's you know, it's doing it, and then it goes out of focus for some reason. And I posted this one online recently, and someone was quite worried about the two people who get washed against the hull. Um,
Right.
so, you know, it is quite
Mm,
convincing stuff. It's
very
just, as I say,
good.
early days of you know, AI video generation.
So,
But let me show you one
yeah,
more thing, Simon, which I think you're going to love. There
yeah.
are other video tools which can create very realistic looking video by tracking the motion of the movement of the person in the screen. Now, you really are getting onto Hollywood stuff. And I think it was only what, 3 years ago that Avatar 2 came out, and the budget they
Right.
had on that. Well, look at this. I created this myself in about 10 minutes with a piece of software that cost me beer money. Okay, have a look at this. It's a AI generated robot running along a road.
Wow.
And look
With
at the lighting,
with
look
the
at
camera movement.
the shadows and everything.
Yeah, the lighting, the shadows. Oh, that's
So,
impressive.
so I then took that and applied it to something we might better know, well, certainly here in the UK. And this is the Houses of Parliament. Look, and I replaced the Labour leader and the Conservative leader with two robots.
Wow.
Clear. The levels of migration are far. The levels of migration are far too high.
So you can see, you know, the power that is there already so early on. And there are issues, you know, there's something called temporal inconsistency. So a lot of AI video you
Yeah.
see generated, like those tube trains,
Yeah.
it's trying to work out the movement based on the last still image. And it doesn't fully understand which bits should move and how should they move. So things kind of morph over time. But it is
Morphing.
getting
Right.
better. And if you want to see how it's getting better, Simon, go into your Google and type in SORA, SORA, and look at the examples of that. That software is not out yet, but that looks absolutely photorealistic.
Yeah,
And
here's
also,
some examples. Yeah.
there's a new one from China called Vidu, VIDU, which is almost as good. That's not out yet, but the demos are out, and it is mind-blowing. And the thing is, Simon, the world's changed. It isn't just about the fact that we don't need to go and buy a camera and an edit suite to make our films anymore. It's also about the fact that the moment when you could rely on looking at a photo or video and therefore knowing that what was being said is true, those
Right.
days are over. And as a result, that changes so many things in
Yeah.
society.
It does, but I mean, I mean, I think that you know that definitely touches on the kind of a dark side of AI. For me, I see it as very positive in generating stuff which can't be generated in any other way. Your elephants in London or the robots in the House of Commons are fantastic. I mean, and certainly. For me, visualizing stuff that people remembered but didn't have any pictures for. One of the things in the UFO community is there's very little decent video. A lot of it's kind of single point stars at night on an iPhone, and the best recollections of strange encounters are people who just remember what happened to them. And I, as a filmmaker, would and their story is highly relevant, but it's often ignored. So to be able to visualize accurately or to evoke what they saw as a filmmaker would be fantastically powerful. And rather than producing lifelike humans that fall into that uncanny valley category of weirdness, I'm going to use it for the highly strange, and I think it's fantastic. I
Well,
can't wait.
the other thing is, I mean, I mentioned that YouTube management tool earlier on. That's called
Yeah.
MoRise, Morise. You need to check that out.
Okay.
That's
Link.
amazing. And the other tool that I would recommend checking out for in the context of what you've just been talking about is an AI tool called Topaz or Topaz AI. And that's a video enhancement tool, the likes of which using AI to enhance poor quality video. You see it in these detective films where, and in Blade Runner, zoom in 22, left 23, zoom in. It exists now. It's there now, and it's called Topaz. So when it comes to kind of enhancing poor quality video, it's arrived.
Can't wait to try that. Now that sounds brilliant. So do you think we're going to have to flag AI created videos online? Are we going to enter this world where we don't really know what we're looking at?
Well, I think the answer is both things, Simon, actually. I think we will have to label stuff as AI. There's probably going to be legislation that tells us to do that. Whether everyone will, of course, is another thing. AI tools are about more than just creating content. They can help you with so many aspects of the production process. With as I've said, with the research, with helping you acquire content. It's not just about generating synthetic media, but those organizations that do generate synthetic media and put it on their output, they risk undermining their integrity and their trust with the audience. Because if the audience see a picture of a ship that's crashed through a great big bridge in America, they're going to go, oh yeah, that's probably AI. This channel's always putting AI pictures up. So, and even if you label it, my argument is, you know what, Simon, the last time you downloaded an app or a piece of software, did you read all those terms and conditions carefully, properly? No, nobody does. Nobody does.
Right. No, I think that's really frustrating. I think that was, I can't, it drives me bonkers to do those agreements because, what's your choice? I'm not going to use it, or I'm going to agree, and I'm not going to read it all. I think people should be obliged to not collect personal data rather than you give them permission to do so. Yeah. So, well, Dean, that was lots of really good advice. I'm super excited to incorporate AI in my particular case, into visualizing stuff which can't be visualized, and probably initially will shy away from creating lifelike stuff. And I'll probably label everything as well. But I can't wait. My fingers are itching to get onto AI image generation. And so when you did the UFO in the forest at night, it was a still image. So some of them also offer to turn it into something that's moving.
So all of the ones that you looked at were all videos. They were all moving videos. But the distinction is that the movement was very limited. So this is the problem. AI still doesn't understand, well, okay, you want me to put movement in, but which is the flying saucer and which isn't? What does descent mean? What should I do? So the movement was quite limited on those pictures. And as I said at the beginning, the results were quite disappointing. I took two approaches with 3 different programs. One was to create a still image on Midjourney and say, this is the starting point, animate this. And Midjourney will get you a better starting point because it's a better image generator. Or the second approach was to type in just a text prompt, and the video generator creates a still image, usually 4, and you choose which one you want to go with, and then it animates that into a video. And again, the video generators I used were Runway, Decohere, and Pika Labs. There are others, but I think right now, those are the ones that you want to be playing with.
But I was very impressed with your robot running along the road with the sun and all the shadows. In that, you actually had did you specify that camera move? You know,
So
that,
no, so that's a completely different process. That
right.
is video generation, but that's a completely different process. That's a piece of software called Wonder Dynamics. And what it does is you take real video, you feed it into it. And I'm actually working on one at the moment with a robot digging a road amongst loads of other human workers. But I'm having to do a little bit of compositing and moving mat work on that, because it's not
Sure.
tracking the shovel quite right. But what it does is you put real video into it. It spots where the human is, and you say, right, I want you to motion capture this human. And then it follows the camera movement, the lighting, and the movement of the human. And then you replace it with whatever animal or creature or robot you want.
So that was a drone shot or a camera car shot of something, a human running, that you replaced it with a robot.
I just grabbed a piece of stock footage and fed that in. I mean, I think if you look on my social media, I've also got a shot of two guys fighting, physically fighting,
right?
And I've turned one into a robot, and they're doing all this kind of, and it just looks like a Hollywood shot.
Oh, that's very exciting. Oh, I must have a play with that as well. And then the same with the House of Commons. You replaced people.
Yeah.
And
what I've had to do there, and this is what I mean about using more than one piece of software. Once I replaced the opposition leader and the Tory leader with robots. The robots appeared in front of the desk. So then I had to create a moving mat to get them behind the desk.
I get it. So we're still, oh, good. So there's still work for us. Yeah, it's often the case in this, you know, that I think people probably put too much faith in things working automatically, and there's a lot of late night rotoscoping.
Yeah, you know, there is another aspect to this, Simon, as well, which is that, you know, and I do go big when I do my training on, look, AI is not just about creating synthetic media. It's about helping out with the other stages of production, the stages which we don't talk about because they're kind of behind the scenes, they're boring. But also, and this is crucial, is that we all know, even if it's deep inside and subconsciously, that what makes stories and storytelling great and engaging is relating everything to the human condition. It's all about people. It's all about the reasons we connect with stories is because we feel empathy for the characters that are struggling in whatever the scenario is that we're delivering. And all of AI content cannot replicate that, because AI is brilliant, but it doesn't understand the human condition. You know why? Because we don't understand the human condition. So there's no way we can teach it that. So we're always going to need, if you want to make content that engages your audience, you're always going to need humans at that last leg.
I know. I just did an interview with a guy who does storytelling tactics. There's cards you can buy to put together a better meeting or sales proposal or film. And he was fantastic, because he was saying everything, the best way to make films, the best way to tell to sell something is to tell a story. And you're absolutely right. But maybe a story arc eventually will become an AI I'm sure it already is in text form.
Listen, there's AI screenwriting software where, you know, you can, it's like having a writing assistant that helps you write the screenplay. I was talking about 2 or 3 of them, and someone in the class said, oh, does that mean I can, when I get home from work, I can just type in an idea for a blockbuster? I can go down the pub for an evening, and when I come back, I've got a multi-million-pound film script. And I was like, no, it doesn't quite work like that, no.
Not quite yet. Oh no, that's fantastic. But maybe one day. Right, Dean, thank you very much. My viewers will have lots of questions. I will try and type in as much of the links to the stuff that you've mentioned, so they can actually, you can go into the video description and use yourself the links that Dean's very kindly suggested for you to use today. But so thank you very much. I'll have a go at trying some things.
Yeah, well, I look forward to seeing the results. I do watch all of your films, so you won't get away with it.
Heaven forbid. Oh, that's great. No. Well, thanks a lot, Dean. And after all these years of working in television production, may we disappear up into an AI cloud.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good to
Cheers.
see you again, Simon. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Wow, my tiny mind is blown. How amazing. If only we could use AI to visualize the unfilmed, to actually put pictures to what people experienced. This is an exciting new project. What you saw today was just an introduction. I'm working with some top people to make this happen. The truth needs to be out there.